So I decided to write my book, publish it, and yeah, it's available on Amazon. And what you showed is available on Markbook.shop as well. But one thing I should mention though, don't be deceived by the title. People outside of the healthcare industry have read my book and seen value in it. So the principles are the same. You just have to be astute and wise to apply it to your work setting or your society and community. Yeah. Oh yes, one thing I should mention. If you buy from me directly, I can personalize it for you. And 10% of the proceedings go to a local charity called Hope Mission. And again, I'm in Alberta, Canada.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I got a question for you. Why, Doc, is it that women fall, I don't want to say fall victim, but fall into a more dangerous category? And then if you throw in African American to that generalization, women, they're even higher risk. Why are women and African American individuals, why do they fall into higher risk whenever anything comes out? What is it about the makeup of women and African Americans that put your lives and your health in more danger?
That's a very good question, very sensitive and could be controversial. But I'm going to answer that question from anecdotal experiences, lived experiences, and from a research perspective, if that's okay. So from anecdotal experiences, and you use the word African American. So just for the record, that's from an American lens. In Canada, we won't use African American because we're not Americans. But right. Nevertheless, you're talking about chocolate-hued people as a whole. I love the term chocolate-hued. That's me. Anyway, so part of it has to do with the fact that from anecdotal experiences, some people say it has to do with racism. And it's very interesting that some people don't know that racism can have physiological effects on a human being. Mm-hmm. There is a screening tool I highly recommend people look it up. One of them was from Harvard. It's called Unrest, in capital letters. Okay, look it up. Regardless of industry, use it to screen not just women that are chocolate hued, it could be men too, and it will help you recognize individuals that are high risk for health issues, either from a social perspective or from a physical perspective due to racism. So that's one big umbrella term as to why their health might be affected. So for example, when you are subjected to microaggressions, and what do I mean by that? It could be racial slurs, either overt or they could be covert. Covert could be, for example, oh, where are you from? So let me use the example of me being Canadian. Actually, I was born in Canada, just it wasn't raised in Canada. And people, number one, look at me, chocolate-hued. They listen to my accent because I'm a global citizen, grew up on 3 different continents. I have a very interesting accent. So when I say things like, oh, I'm from Winnipeg, they're like, no, where are you really from? So right there, they don't realize some might deem that a microaggression. You've asked me a question, I answered you because you didn't like or accept my answer, you're digging and prying. Maybe what you intended to ask was, what's your ethnicity? Which is different, very different. Ethnicity has to do with maybe your culture and traditions. Race is a social construct. It's what people put you in a box, actually, is what race is. So there's difference between racial and ethnic background, okay? So maybe what they might wanted to have asked was, what's your ethnic background? And this is educational, okay?
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's one thing. So to answer your question, so there could be racism involved in it, affecting their healthcare. It's a well-known fact that in the States specifically, sadly, maternity health for women. And from what I've read, it has to do with they have a lack of trust of the system because of how they'll be treated and perceived, which makes them delay seeking early treatment. So it'd be prenatal treatment. It could be during pregnancy, or it could be postpartum. So this distrust sadly leads them to not seeking healthcare. And when I say distrust, could be stemming from the fact of what they've heard happen to their colleagues or their family members. They're like, I'm not putting myself in that situation. Okay. Now, so that's one aspect. Now, tying it into burnout. So very good question. Well, you didn't use the word burnout, but as in the health, right? So those of African origin, chocolate hued, Caribbean backgrounds, however you want to define it. I love chocolate hued personally, and I say that with joy. They do have a higher predisposition for being hypertensive. So when you're under lots of stress, be it stress related to racism or being due to discrimination. So let's say, for example, you're not promoted when you have the education background, but you're not promoted because of the color of your skin or due to threat or jealousy, whatever it is, that creates stress. And when there's stress, you have cortisol shoot up in your body, and that doesn't help you, right? So that can impact your stress. And believe it or not, there are some tumors that can be caused by heightened stress levels. Again, yeah. So all that can impact a woman's that's chocolate hue, can impact your health adversely, not just physiologically, but mentally, socially, culturally, and spiritually. So that's the way I can answer that. Did that help?
Are women who are mothers, are they at higher risk than even women who are single and do not have that responsibility of being a mother?
Not necessarily. I mean, I can't speak to what the research would say, but there's one thing general research would say, for instance, when you say women who are mothers, we have to classify that into two different categories. Are they single mothers or are they mothers with a partner? So right. If they're single mothers, higher risk because they lack the social support to take care of the child and other things that might be going on. Not to say there are single mothers who are heroines out there. Don't get me wrong, but research shows that those who are in a relationship, married relationship specifically, have better social supports, and that helps their health better. Okay. Now, in terms of singlehood, now, it depends. Some people are of the opinion, and I think they're misconstrued in the fact that because you're single, you don't have responsibilities of a family, of a child, it's easier for you. But no, think of it in a different way. You have everything on your shoulders. You're responsible for working, you're responsible for paying those bills, you're responsible for taking care of things in the house and so forth. It's an extra load. Yes, you may not have that extra responsibility of looking after a younger one, but what about when you're in the sandwich generation? When you have to take care of your parents. Sandwich generation means taking care of maybe parents or taking care of younger ones. So there are single women, again, when maybe they're not married, people think, oh, they have less responsibility, they should take care of their older parent. They will be at risk for burnout as well. So people don't really see that. So no, so it all depends on what demographic you're looking at, your geographical location, and their social support, and their physical and physiological disposition as well.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate you navigating and answering that question. I know that there's a huge difference, and I do apologize for using America all the time. It's accustomed to this is where I live, and it's I guess it's just habit, but I do apologize for that. So Doc, if you were going to look at someone and someone was going to come to you and say, I'm stressed, I just need a break, Doc, what's the first thing you tell them to do?
Okay. Before I answer that, first and foremost, there was no need for an apology. Thank you, but it wasn't needed. It's all good. Okay. Now, someone that is stressed and they come to me seeking advice. The first thing I would do, I'm very holistic and I use the mindset of root cause analysis. I ask lots of questions. And the intent is to unearth, to go down to the root cause of an issue. So I'll start by asking the person, number one, again, depending on the setting of where they're asking me, I would prefer to have a nice private conversation with this individual because I know I'm going to be asking a series of questions before I make any recommendations. So number one, I'll ask, you know what, can we have a private time to chat or for a consultation or whatever? And then tell me more about this. Not why you're stressed, tell me more. And based on what they answer, I'll start targeting and narrowing down my questions that will guide any recommendation or guidance I'll give them. Because stress, don't get me wrong. Again, people may not know this. There are two kinds of stress. There's de-stress, the negative, and there's eustress. Eustress is the positive stress that might happen when, let's say, for example, a couple is expecting a baby. Planned. Unplanned might be a little bit unstressful, but it could still be positive. But eustress is the good kind of stress that happens as a result of something positive. So it could be for someone, oh, I can't wait to get that job, but I have to move. They're happy they have a job, but the stress of moving, but it's kind of like a eustress. I hope that makes sense, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the word stress, some people automatically think of it as negative. But no, my approach to answer your question is, first and foremost, tell me about the stress.
Well, I greatly appreciate everything. I appreciate you joining us. You can be found, your two websites are shalomeagleswings.care. That's www.shalomeagleswings.care. And then you can also be found on www.renata.care. That's www.renata.care. You are found at your email address. Let me find that. Oh, and you can get your free gift on renata.care by just going to the free gift, recalibrate and relax. There's a place that you just download it. It's right there, PDF. Just download it to your computer, have it, use it, and live it, love it, and rejuvenate. Recalibrate. So, and then you can always get your books when you buy them directly. You're going to get it personalized. She's going to sign it for you. And also donate 10% to who?
Hope Mission.
Hope Mission. Well, that's so wonderful that you're doing that. But you can get your books by visiting the website shalomeagleswings.com is where the book is located. So you can also email her at Cheryl at shalomeagleswings.care. That's Cheryl at shalomeagleswings.care. And your phone number, 403-837-9209, 403-837-9209. Is there anything else that you would like to get out to everybody?
Well, first and foremost, thank you very much for having me on this platform. I appreciate it. I'm always eager to partner and support organizations that are interested in helping masses at large, So thank you for that. What else I want to share is basically I just want to leave people with something I like to say. I like to say that you are needed in this world to be a solution. Be the best that you can and do not rob the world of a precious gem. You. Goodbye.
That is so fitting for me right now because I am in the middle of writing a blog that's the exact same thing that you just said. You are needed for to help others, and if you're not there, they're losing that resource. So what a wonderful, wonderful way to end. Dr. Cheryl Okali, thank you so very much for joining us. Please come back and join us sometime if there's anything that you can want to announce or you would like to share.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you again. Finally. Okay. make a difference with your shopping, visit communitypayitforward.us. Select the mission or cause you want to support and scan the QR code. You have two options. Click the first link and browse our giving partners, or use the second link to tell us what you need, and we'll find the right partners for you. Shop with these partners and keep your receipt or invoice. Next, click a picture or simply upload a picture of your receipt to the portal in every form, adding your name and email address. Your purchase now turns into a donation to the mission you've chosen. Community Pay It Forward shares your business story with those in need of your services to rally support for those who need us all. I want to thank Dr. Okali for joining us. And I think one of the things that I want to reiterate and pick up on a little bit is the last statement that she said, that, you know, we need you to be here. And that is, you know, anybody who's ever watched any of my shows knows that that's so important, because each of us, we have our own story to tell. And that story, if told in the right way and if told to the right people, can mean the world to somebody. It's one of the reasons why we really focus on telling as many stories as we can. Okay? And speaking of telling stories, we're here for you to tell your story by simply scanning the QR code that you would see right above us. That QR code will bring you to a form. Fill out that form, and you can tell us about your business, about your program, about your nonprofit, any of those. All you got to do is scan the QR code, fill it out, pick a date. Let's record a segment, and we will get it on the air as soon as we possibly can. Be very thorough and tell us exactly what you want to talk about. We will get you in, and let's tell people who you are. At this time, I want to give a huge thanks to a person we talked to the other day, and we learned so much about her, and that's Jill E. Schultz, who is our brand new pACT sponsor. JillESchultz.com, JillESchultz.com. Look, every single one of us has a past. And as I like to say, something that I saw once on a sticky note, and it said, every saint has a past, every sinner has a future. And Jill E. Schultz wants to teach and wants to help you get through that past and face the future and bring that wonderful that wonderful you into the light. And it's very easy for us to do, and that's by releasing the embarrassment. That's by, sorry about the weird sounds that you just heard, but getting rid of the shame and bringing out the wonderful feelings and the wonderful you. You're going to get a chance to meet Jill E. Schultz as soon as this show is over. So at 9 p.m. East, 7 p.m. right here in the mountains. Stay tuned right here on the pACT channels, and just all you got to do is scroll up a little bit, and it's going to show up right after this last interview that we've got with another brand new friend who really wants to focus on love. You know, what can love do for you emotionally, physically, professionally? Why we need love in our life. So when we get after this real quick spot, we're going to be talking to Mandolin Moses. Wonderful, wonderful, beautiful lady. I really, really enjoyed this interview, and she has so many personal experiences to tell, and it is really her program and what she does is just so amazing. So please enjoy this interview with Mandolin Moses. Finally, we have had a lot of difficult shows that we've been talking about lately everywhere, from dating to, past traumas in childhood and stuff like that, to where now we get someone who's going to talk about something that's pleasant, generally pleasant. So sometimes it's a little awkward, but it's generally pretty pleasant. I am thrilled to introduce to you to international public speaker and author Mandolin Moses. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, no problem. Tell us about love.
So, this has been a concept that I've been teaching for years, and it's been my ultimate purpose in life is to be someone out there that actually expresses what love really is. Years ago, I created a workshop called What is Love? And the very first time I did it, I had like a big group and everybody was talking about love. And, I opened up the workshop saying it's said to have 136 different definitions of what love is, right? So we'll talk about, oh, I love this slice of pizza. Oh, I love the weather. I love the beach. I love you. I love my children. I love, there's like this word love is just used so, in such a broad way. And it was funny because this morning I was just thinking about this for my daughter. And they're going to be today, I'm glad we're having this conversation. I have to message her. It's her anniversary with her husband. And a lot of people think that relationships and marriage and everything, it all has to do with love. And this notion of love and people falling in and out of love with each other. And that's not love. There's no such thing as falling in love with somebody and then out of love with somebody. And so when I was teaching this workshop, at the end of the workshop, after everybody was kind of discussing what love is, a man in the workshop asked me, so Mandolin, what is your definition of love? And I said, it's simple. There's only one definition of love. And love is holding someone to a higher standard than they would hold themselves. That is the definition of love.
Okay. So in that definition, one of the things that we always hear is that you cannot love someone unless you love yourself.
Oh my gosh, I hate that saying more than anything in the whole wide world.
I'm glad I brought it up then.
I loathe that expression because it's funny because if you ask 100 people, 95% of people, like if I ask you, hey Zach, do you love yourself? What's going to be your answer?
Sometimes.
Honestly, people say, well, I love myself.
Yeah.
And I really want this. I want this relationship. I want this money. I want this job. I want this. I love myself. I'm doing everything. Most people are going to say that they love themselves, right? Most people aren't going to say, like there are some people out there that, are very unhappy and they're going to say that they don't love themselves. But the way that, we're not here to be on this planet by ourselves. We're just not. God gave us 7.8 billion other people on this planet to connect with. And these people in our lives come into our lives to show us love, and many times show us where we need to grow and expand, and we can never do that alone, you know. And it's like, so how can you say that, you know, if you don't love yourself, nobody else is going to love you? Or, you know, or how can somebody love you if you don't love yourself? That's just crazy. We're supposed to spend our entire life in isolation until we come to this like realization, oh my gosh, I finally love myself. And then you come out into the world and the whole world is just going to embrace you with this notion of unconditional love. That's insane. That is absolutely insane way of thinking. You know, it's like, if I'm having, if I'm like, just recently, I had a pretty big health scare, right? And all of and I was feeling really down. I was feeling like, my gosh, you know, me of all people, like, how did this happen to me? But you know what? I was so blessed that I had all these friends that reminded me of how amazing I was, and why I was, you know, man, you know, my friends were like, man, you know, this was just the devil's chance to get you down. You know what I mean? God sent you here for a reason. You know, get your head up. You're here for a reason. You're going to get through this. Man, I couldn't imagine going through what I went through without all these people reminding me of how beautiful I was. Because at the time I was just ready. I was like, I was stressed out. I was at the lowest point of my life. And here I have all these people that stood up to bring my chin up. You know, it was like, thank God I had those people that held me to a higher standard, that kept me distracted from all of the chaos that was going around me. That's what people are for. So I absolutely loathe that saying, because we need people to remind us of how powerful we are in certain moments when we're not feeling powerful ourselves.
I tell people on a daily basis that when I was in the hospital bed after my motorcycle accident, one of my first thoughts that I can remember, of course, I don't remember a whole lot about it, but the one thing that I do remember is waking up and knowing that there were people there, seeing that there were people there for me to take care of me. And one of my first thoughts was, what if I had just moved to this area and somebody ran me off the road and nobody knew me? How scary would that have been to woken up to nobody there, being there, to, you know, my friends, my family are hundreds of miles away or even 70 miles away, but nobody can get there overnight. And we're sitting there, you know, I'm sitting there in a very scary situation and people couldn't be there for me. And when I first started creating Community Pay It Forward, that was one of the things I wanted to make sure that we could do, that we could tell somebody who's in a bad situation, hey, we don't know you that well, but we're here for you, you know, to show people that we're here to love them. And I love that the fact that you brought that into your explanation, that really, you know, that's what this is about, is, you know, support and just being there. It's a tough life when you don't think anybody's there for you.
You know, I'm going to share these two stories. So when I was in the hospital, so about a month ago, I got a phone call saying, you know, get to the emergency room right away. You're about to have a heart attack or a stroke. Like, if I wouldn't have gone to the hospital that morning or that night, I wouldn't have woke up in the morning. Like, I went into AFib. In the hospital, my heart stopped several times. They had to do 3 EKGs on me because my heart kept stopping. And I go into the hospital, and obviously I'm in shock because I'm like super healthy, you know. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know what the heck's going on. But I'm just like laughing and joking with the hospital staff, you know. It's like, look, at this point in my life, I'm just in your hands, right? And the doctor, I'll never forget this, is just hands down one of the most beautiful moments of my life. And I have to say, I live a very blessed life. I really do. But this doctor comes in, and he has his hand on his chest, and he's like, Mandolin, how are you doing? And I said, you know, I'm doing all right. You know, I was like, I don't, you know, I have no control of the situation. I'm in your hands. You know, I still am in shock. I don't really know what I'm doing here. And, you know, and we're just having this conversation, and I said, you know, and I said, I just feel grateful, you know, that I'm here. And he's like, you know what? I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy you're here. And that always just wants to bring tears to my eyes, because he didn't know me.
Yeah.
But he, like him, like the body language of him standing up tall, the compassion of how I'm feeling, you know. Oh, that's what he said. He said, you know what? Try and get some sleep. And I said, you and I both know I'm not getting any sleep, because the last time I tried falling asleep, my heart stopped and you guys all came running in to revive me. So I just said, you know, I'm just going to sit here and meditate. And then that's when he said, I'm so happy you're here, you know. And when the nurse came in to give me my blood transfusions, you know, I was like, oh, give me some superhero blood if you have that. If not, I'll settle for Michael Jordan's. And she's like, I have never heard anybody laugh or joke with me while I'm giving them a blood transfusion before. And I was like, you know, but what happened was the whole staff at the hospital was so enlightened and lifted because they were in this presence of love. And because of that, I don't have one of those horror stories about Western medicine or anything like that. I have like a beautiful story about the care that I was in, because we all were in this beautiful marriage of love, you know. And that's really what marriage is. Not like, you know, signing a piece of paper, but it's the union of people coming together in this place of unconditional love and trusting each other. And I mean, as crappy as the situation was, it was just one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had in my life.
I appreciate you saying that, because I have never walked into a hospital when I was the patient and walked out angrier, you know. I have never, I'm not the patient that's going to walk in there and complain and, you know, bitch and moan that, oh my God, the food is awful. All this stuff is awful. You know, what's going on? I'll play around a little bit, you know, with the nurses, you know, they'll come in and they'll be like, oh, we're out of orange Jello. And I'm like, what? I want to see the manager, you know, stuff like that. I want to, and you know, they're like, well, if you know, if you don't behave, we're just going to drug you and it'll knock you out. And I'm like going, maybe that's what I'm looking for. You know, I love being able to go in there and have fun with them, because, you know, you hear the other people that are talking to them. Those rooms are nice and private.
Yeah.
But you still hear some of the other things that they have to go through. We've also all been in that situation where, guess what? Those nurses that bust their butt every day, you know, they have to deal with situations where not everybody's as lucky as you are. You know, families are in very high intense times, and you know, maybe even if they don't intend on being the world's biggest jerk, you know, it's not easy to lose a family member or see your son hurt. That was one one time when I did snap out when my, you know, 1-year-old boy, the lady couldn't get the needle in his, you know, in his arm. And I wasn't the nicest guy that time, but it's like, you know, stab me 1,000,000 times, I don't care. You don't stab my son again, or I'm gonna hurt you. But what brought on what brought on this need to teach people about love?
You know, it's funny because I came into this world completely unloved. You know, a few years back, my mom has never been a great mother. My mom's never liked me. She's never loved me. And I'm not saying that, like, she's told me this. These are things that I hear from my mom calls me a joke. It's since the day I was born, I was rejected. And a few years ago, it was actually back in 2020, I was contemplating, you know, I was like, you know, because she just really was never a good mom. So I asked her, you know, Mom, I understand that parents don't often get their side of the story told, you know, and we don't, as children, we don't really know what you go through on a daily basis or whatever, and what you went through in your personal life that led to, you know, where we're at today. So I said, Mom, do you mind if I interview you so I can just get to know you a little bit better? And she said, okay, sure. And the one thing that she said to me, it was totally not what I expected, but she said, the second you were born, you looked at me in my eyes and you judged me. And she says, I just couldn't deal with the judgment. I was like, so that was your thought. You just had I'm the firstborn out of all of the siblings. You just had your firstborn, and you're looking your daughter in her eyes. It's staring you back in your eyes, and you're looking at this baby that's been born only for a few moments. And all you can think to yourself is how much I judged you. So you can imagine the